Today, this assembly meets at a moment of profound historic significance for Ukraine. We're entering the 5th year of Russia's full-scale invasion against my country. We're entering the 13th year of Russia's unprovoked, unjustified aggression against my country, which already resulted in temporary occupation of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol and parts of Donetsk and Lugansk regions of Ukraine. No country in modern history has endured an attack of such gravity, scale, magnitude, and duration. Russia's war of aggression has shattered peace in Europe and around the globe and struck at the very core of the UN Charter and the fundamental principles of international law: sovereignty, territorial integrity, and non-use of force. Russia's war of aggression is imperial and neo-colonial in its nature. What Russia wants to do, what Kremlin wants to do, is to divide the world into spheres of influence and to make Ukraine as a satellite. Russia will not succeed. Russia miscalculated gravely in 2014 when it started its aggression against Ukraine, thinking that Ukraine would collapse. Russia miscalculated gravely in 2022 when it started its full-scale invasion, thinking that Ukraine would collapse. And Russia miscalculates gravely now, in February 2026, thinking that it is betting on time and Ukraine would collapse. Ukraine resists and defends itself, and we're not alone. I'm grateful to each and every member state present in this hall for your outstanding support. However, despite peace efforts led by the US and supported by Europe, Russia continues to demonstrate no genuine willingness to stop this aggression. Just throughout 1 week, from 8th to 15th February 2026, Russia launched about 1,300 attack drones, more than 1,200 guided aerial bombs, and 50 missiles against Ukraine, most of them ballistic. On the contrary, Ukraine has shown clear and good faith readiness to pursue peace, including through compromises which are extremely difficult for us, such as accepting the cessation of hostilities along the line of contact. Yet, the Kremlin's position remains unchanged. Kremlin wants Ukraine to get back from our own sovereign territory, so Russia may occupy it. This is not a negotiating red lines. The sovereignty and territorial integrity of every member state is a fundamental principle of the UN Charter and international law, and I'm more than sure that it is a red line, not only for Ukraine, but for each country present here in this hall. These 4 years have come at an immense and tragic cost for Ukraine and for Ukrainian people. Unable to achieve strategic goals on the front, Russia pursued large-scale attacks against civilians, children, residential buildings, bombing schools, kindergarten, and critical infrastructure. Ukrainian cities, Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, Dnipro, Zaporizhia, and many others are subjected to daily large-scale missile and drone attacks. Entire cities, Mariupol, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and many others, are erased from the map. Energy infrastructure has been deliberately and repeatedly targeted, especially when we have very severe winter in Ukraine. Russia has turned winter into its weapon, striking power plants and energy networks with the explicit aim of leaving civilians without electricity, heating, and water in freezing temperatures. Yesterday, New York City declared a state of emergency due to severe winter conditions. Now imagine these snowstorms and extreme cold, -20, -26, compounded by deliberate attack on power station and transmission grid. Imagine your apartments, no heating, no electricity, no water, and it's -20 outside, and Russia continues to strike Ukrainian people. That's how residents of Kyiv and many other cities across Ukraine have spent their winter. And this is not a collateral damage. This is not a military strategy gone wrong. This is a deliberate Russian state policy, weaponization of winter, darkness, and cold to break nation, to break our resilience. We're grateful to each country who provided energy assistance at this very critical juncture to Ukraine. It strengthened our resilience. On the front line, where Ukrainian forces have regained 400 square kilometers across the country, in cities and villages far from the front line, where to the sounds of fuel generators, stores and industries continue to operate, medical and other essential services were delivered, and emergency responders worked tirelessly to eliminate the consequences of Russian attacks. Russia has deliberately targeted its campaign against our people, and in particular our children. Many of them abducted, many deported by Russia in grave breach of international law, and many gone missing. Let me just give one story. Andriy Gumenyuk was 17 years old when family found themselves in the sight of Russian occupiers in the village of Novonatalyevka in Ukraine's Kherson region. On 11th June 2022, FSB agents broke into the home and abducted his mother, accusing her of assisting the Ukrainian military. The next day, they abducted his father. Andrey's younger brother, Oleg, were left alone. The FSB then pressured Andrey to cooperate, to inform on pro-Ukrainian neighbors. Threatened at gunpoint and living in constant fear, the boys managed to escape to free Ukraine. But their parents are gone. This is just one example of this human tragedy that is developing in Ukraine against the backdrop of Russian aggression. And this is not merely a war against a state, it's a war against people. It's a war against rules, it's a war against law, it's a war against humanity. Madam President, Ukraine did not choose this war. Ukraine chooses peace, Ukraine chooses life, Ukraine chooses independence and freedom. If Ukraine were to stop fighting, we would lose our state, our people, and our freedom. Ukraine seeks peace. We want peace more than anyone, but not peace at any cost, not peace at any price, not peace under the disguise of capitulation or surrender. It will not happen. Ukraine will not surrender. We will never accept the occupation of our territories or our people. We will never accept awarding aggressor for its aggression. And we will never accept impunity for crimes committed against Ukrainians for all these 12 years. Ukraine seeks a dignified, just, comprehensive and lasting peace. Peace that secures the freedom and independence of our states within internationally recognized borders. Russia continues to reject peace. The Kremlin continues to escalate. It is betting on time, betting that the world will go tired, the unity will weaken, and the principles will be compromised. This assembly must not allow this to happen, because this war is about whether borders can be redrawn by force, whether civilians can be targeted without consequences, and whether the principles we have all pledged to uphold will still mean anything tomorrow. No member state should be left alone when attacked, as Ukraine has been attacked, and Ukraine hasn't been left alone. We're deeply grateful to all member states that have stood with us through military, financial, humanitarian, political support. We're grateful to the US, Europe, African and Arab states, Latin American, Asian, as well as everyone who helps us bring peace closer. Because your investment into peace in Ukraine is an investment into peace and security of your particular country. Excellencies, this moment demands clarity and unity. Ukraine believes that the international community must speak with one voice in support of a full and unconditional ceasefire. At this critical moment, Ukraine presents to this Assembly a draft resolution entitled Support for Lasting Peace in Ukraine. This is not just a resolution of rhetorics. It is a resolution of responsibility. It sets clear steps, support for ongoing peace efforts, a call for full, immediate, and unconditional ceasefire, a call for comprehensive, just, and lasting peace in accordance with the UN Charter and international law. The draft resolution also underscores the urgent need to concrete humanitarian measures, release of all our children, unconditional release of our children, of our civilians, and return of our prisoners of war. These steps are essential confidence-building measures and a moral imperative. This is not just an abstract document. It's about lives, it's about peace, it's about families, it's about justice. A vote in favor of this resolution is not a geopolitical gesture. It is a choice between law and force, between justice and impunity, between peace and continued suffering. Words are not enough. We must act. We ask you to stand with us, not only in solidarity but in decision. Let this Assembly send a clear message in support of the peace process. Aggression will not prevail, justice will not be denied, peace will not be abandoned. I therefore urge all Member States to vote in favor of draft resolution ES 11/L.17, support for lasting peace in Ukraine. My delegation also moves that the debate on agenda item 5 be suspended at 11 a.m. today in order for the Assembly to proceed to the consideration of draft resolution, on the understanding that the debate would resume immediately after the action on the draft resolution, and the 11th emergency session would only be temporarily adjourned after the conclusion of the debate. Thank you so much.